rounding, I can't necessarily like start doing a U-word block in the middle of rounding,
Mhm,
or if I'm talking with a patient, I can't do like Anki cards right in front of them.
mhm.
So it's about like being present in those clinical rotations and kind of managing your time once you're home. But I think it's also important to kind of give yourself that grace during those rotations. It's hard for everybody, so don't beat yourself up or feel bad because I couldn't get to my like work today. I couldn't do my U-word block today. You know,
Hey guys, this is Greg with Medical Muscle, and in this video today, I'm interviewing my friend Nish. Really smart guy, and he's got a lot of good information for you guys.
My name is Nish. I'm a fourth year medical student at St. George's University. No, just excited to be here. And in terms of the match week that just happened, I'm excited to say that I matched for internal medicine to a categorical spot. I'm very excited to move forward. Yeah, so internal medicine for me, I think, is a great specialty that I really connect with and I see myself in the future with, which I think is the most important when trying to pick a specialty that you can see yourself there 5, 10 years, 20 years down the line and enjoying your clinical practice. For me, I really like the learning aspect. Whenever we're rounding during telemedicine, I know everyone can have a different opinion on rounding, but for me personally, I love it. It's always a discussion on medicine, about patients, and how we connect like everything that's objective from lab data and vitals to subjective to how the patient feels, what's their social situation, and what's like the best way to communicate those things going forward. And I really feel like those social aspects of internal medicine, like rehab placement, discharge planning, those stuff can be a little bit tedious at times, but it really does make the best difference for patients, after the hospital and really makes a difference in their care. So being able to be a part of that is something I really value and look forward to. So I think combination of the variety of the problems you see with the kind of with the problems you're tackling really makes a good fit for me, and I really see myself enjoying it in the future.
I think students have to like what they're going into. You have to like the medicine.
Like if someone's still trying to figure out their path, internal medicine is a good pathway because along with that there's a lot of fellowship and specialization options after you finish residency. So for someone also trying to figure out like in terms of like fellowships, like do I want to do more procedures and go maybe like a cardiology or GI route, or do I want to go like less procedural wise but still see like a specific population like rheumatology, sports medicine, or nephrology. So there's a lot of different options for people to kind of figure out where they want to go along the way. But I still think, especially considering that I think fellowship is not always a guarantee.
Mhm.
So that if you're going into internal medicine, you have to really still enjoy the aspect that even if you don't match into a fellowship, you would be okay being like a hospitalist or a primary care physician. Because that's important, I think, things to consider about in the future in case it doesn't work out for whatever reason. Because for those fellowships I mentioned, they are getting more competitive year by year. So I think it's an important thing for people to think about moving forward.
That is a great point. I hear a lot of people that say, well, I don't really know what I want to do, but maybe I want to do cardiology, so I'll just do internal. And yeah, it's because the downside is, yes, if you don't match into the fellowship that you want, that a really competitive one, yeah, you're stuck with internal. Are you going to be happy with that if you don't get into the competitive fellowships that you want? But there's a lot of choices. You're right. Do you know what your interests are? Like, do you think you would continue doing internal, or do you think you have a fellowship idea?
I've done some electives in my fourth year, and the ones I really enjoyed so far were infectious disease and GI currently. But for me, I'm still kind of like I want to do the work in residency in those electives, see what the day to day looks like from
Mhm.
the resident perspective as compared to a student perspective, and kind of make the decision from there. But in terms of like kind of like firm plans, I really want to do moving forward. I definitely want to pursue something in medical education. I really feel like the teaching aspect of internal medicine is what really like makes me excited about the field. I love working with people. I love talking about patients. I love talking about their problems and like how we as a team can best solve them. And I think the teaching internal medicine really is like a great pathway for me that I personally like. So for me, moving forward, like whether I specialize or not, I definitely want to try to work at a teaching hospital or even do things where like I can try to go to medical schools and help out students with clinical skills, like in those first like preclinical years. But it's something that I really want to be part of my career moving forward, at least.
Excellent. Yeah, I can see you. I can see that in your personality, man. You have a passion for the learning aspect of it.
Not only like I really enjoyed like working with other students and like in within internal medicine, but I feel like also kind of going to clinical rotations, we really have to kind of like put ourselves out there. And I think a big part of clinical rotations is trying to do stuff that you're not comfortable with. At least speaking from my personal experience, when I joined my third year clinical rotations, I was completely virtual for the first 2 years because of COVID. So the first 2 years, I was, doing classes from my parents' basement, and just like trying to do like some clinical stuff in between the breaks, but
Mhm.
not as involved as like doing like clinical rotations till that year. And I know like I had my like fears about it because like I had never like it's been a while since I've been in that setting and worked with people directly.
Yeah.
But I knew I just wanted to like put myself out there, try my best, and like I'm there to learn. So if I make a mistake, that's okay. But what wouldn't be okay is if I didn't try to learn to the best of my ability or like learn from my mistakes that I made along the way.
Sure. Yeah, actually, so let's we should talk about that. Okay, in terms of like studying, like say if someone's in their first year, what kind of advice would you have for like studying or getting ready for clinicals or
I would say, like, if we're talking about students in their first year of medical school, how to really best prepare, I think the best advice I can give is to really, like, it can seem a little bit counterintuitive, but try to take that first year as kind of like a trial period. Figure out what works and what doesn't work. Because I can tell you, like, what I did. I mostly focused on, like, content. So I did, like, notes for lectures. And I didn't really do Anki until second year because I know at SGU, second year, we do more pathology. So it's a lot more memorization based and recall, which is why I chose to do Anki in the second year. But that first year, I really focused on content and doing lectures and doing practice problems. That same approach might not work for everybody. So I would say like try to like figure out what works best for you. Try to really think critically about what kind of learner am I? Am I a visual learner? Do I need to see slides? Or am I like an audio learner? Do I need to listen to people talk about this subject through like lecturers or podcasts? And really try to see like how your performance does from exam to exam. And if you really feel like you're learning for yourself, like if you're really making that like personal growth, that am I learning like the best kind of medicine that I want to in a way that works for me?
in terms of studying in clinicals, like how does that change? How did that change for you?
I'd say it definitely got a little bit more difficult because it gets the added difficulty that not only do we have to study at home, but it's also the clinical responsibilities we have. We're working with residents, we're working with attendings, we're working with other healthcare professionals, nurses, case management. So it's comes from like we have less time to carve out for studying. So it's like if we're rounding, I can't necessarily like start doing a U-word block in the middle of rounding.
Mhm.
Or if I'm talking with a patient, I can't do like Anki cards right in front of them.
Mhm.
So it's about like being present in those clinical rotations and kind of managing your time once you're home. But I think it's also important to kind of give yourself that grace during those rotations. It's hard for everybody, so don't beat yourself up or feel bad because I couldn't get to my like work today. I couldn't do my U word block today.
Mhm.
Give yourself that grace to get back at it the next time and just be present in the moment, like learning while you're there with like people who've worked with patients for years.
Yeah, I think, yeah, sure, your scores are very important, but it was surprising to me how much just your presence, like just being there and working with the attendings, and how much a letter of recommendation can change your application, how much, like, your connection with the director, and only in like a clinical aspect, not in like a test or score aspect.
I think for me, the clinical side is I really try to took the effort and opportunity to learn from a lot of attendings there because for me coming as a new student, I can do like all the U world and all the Anki in the world, right? I could learn all this stuff from flashcards and question banks, but at the end of the day, as students, we're working with attendings who between them have hundreds of years of patient care experience working directly with patients because when you have patients with specific social situations, the U World question bank just doesn't prepare you for it. So that when you move forward in residency, it becomes less about how do we know the content? Because if you made it that far, you know the content.
Mhm.
You are competent enough to get to that level. It's at that point like, how do I get the skills to think critically and adapt to all these situations? Because we've been in the hospital, things can change that we aren't expecting, that we don't account for. It's always about like, how do I approach it now? Like, what's the approach now? Because my plan A through C just don't work anymore.
For someone who wants to go in internal medicine, say if they're, what kind of advice would you have, maybe while in clinicals, like how can they set themselves up to be a really good candidate to get interviews and get accepted somewhere?
Yeah, so I think to be frank, for internal medicine, I think in my opinion, it's kind of a more academic specialty. So what I think I've seen is that there's a lot more emphasis placed on scores.
Hmm.
So I would say the best advice I can give for anyone trying to really try go give their best effort for an internal medicine residency is try your best on step two. You know, and it is going to be hard work between doing rotation and studying at home, but it's a lot of cumulative knowledge you build up over the year of doing that 30-year rotation. So trying to cultivate all that in order to do it good dedicated for step two is going to make a difference, I think, for your application. And then that being said, I think it also depends on what kind of setting you want to go to. If you want to go to a more academic setting, like university programs, they tend to value a lot more research. So if you have that, that's great. If not, try to prioritize that during medical school. And it also helps too that, let's say, like if you want to do IM, but decide maybe you want to do something more competitive in the future, you have that initial research that helps round out your CV as well. So it is a good thing to try to also aim for, but also try to also kind of like put yourself out there, because during residency interviews a lot of people will talk about not only just your research and like why you want to go internal medicine, but they want to know about you personally. What do you like? Why, or what are the aspects of the field that draw you to it? Like, what do you do for fun? They want to know that they can work with you in a setting and that they're going to enjoy working with you. So try to find hobbies and activities that really vibe and connect with you and what you enjoy, and I think it'll come across in an interview, and people will be excited to work with you.
Well, man, hey, congratulations on matching in internal medicine. I think you're going to do fantastic. If you would like to contact Nish, ask any questions, where can they find you?
I have a Facebook profile, so if anyone's on Facebook, I have a Messenger app, so just feel free to shoot me a message. That's the easy way to get in touch with me. And, I'll do my best to get back to you guys if you have any questions.
Fantastic. I'll link that below. Nish, thank you again. I wish you the best of luck in residency coming up.
Same to you, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations on matching as well. You're going to do fantastic where you're going right now. So best of luck to you, but I don't think you need it.
Oh, thank you.